the financial economy, given that there are still a significant number of persons who do not either have a bank account or an account with the credit union, but that financially including these people, sir, and having a mechanism whereby they can be included without having to register with a bank or a credit union was important. Now, this is not to say that we do not want to encourage people to get those types of savings and instruments offered by financial institutions. But if the economy is going to accelerate and to have fully inclusive growth, it is important to have a mechanism whereby persons are included financially. And so as you know, sir, when I did this debate in 2021, I informed the chamber that I had met with all of the financial institutions who provided payment services, including the credit unions at the time, the larger ones, as well as the league, in January of 2019. Because we understood then that this was important in order to ensure that we can unlock opportunities for doing business, unlock access to credit, sir, and make it easier for any business operating in Barbados, any person operating a business in Barbados, or thinking of operating a business in Barbados, to be able to have better access to financing and therefore eliminate the hurdles that have been long-standing as it relates to businesses traditionally in the country. And we have embarked on a number of pieces of legislation in order to, on the one hand, sir, give the central bank regulatory authority in relation to payments, because, excuse me, what happened before was that we all remember CARS as a system, sir. CARS, everybody had a debit card, and you would go around Barbados with the card and you would do business, but that business was limited, obviously, to whether the merchant chose to engage with the system and pay the appropriate fees. Of course, having a bank account to be able to engage on the CARS system, but it was owned by the 5 commercial banks at the, well, 6, but 5 commercial banks at the time, and therefore the investment that each bank was making with respect to technology was at a different pace. And we felt it was important that we brought standards with respect to how payments are done in the country. But really and truly, sir, as technology has evolved globally, Barbados cannot be left behind, and therefore we felt it was important that in the public interest, given that there's a broad discussion about fees, that people were being charged to deal with this, we took a decision strategically to have not just remove the ownership of the payments, the underlying payments rail, from that of the commercial banks, vest that ownership in the central bank to ensure then that we have standards and rules with respect to how people utilize that system on the one hand, but to ensure that in the public interest, that the government making this investment will then be able to ensure that if, sir, as I would do now, sir, if I wanted a few dollars from you, you would go in your wallet, sir, and you if you have.
I don't remember, you won't get any. I have not.
It is a scenario, sir, that I'm just painting for the benefit of the public, sir. But if I wanted a few dollars from you, sir, you would go into your wallet and give me physical cash. And we want to ensure that the ability to do that does not necessarily mean that we have to be present physically to do so, because it would mean, sir, that you got to leave where you live, or I got to leave where I am to come to you in order to facilitate that exchange and go about our business. And there's nothing wrong with that, so I want to make it clear to the public that what we are putting in place, and what I'm sure by now most Barbadians have touched or heard the central bank team traversing all across Barbados for the last 3 months or so, sensitizing Barbadians as to what it is coming down the road so that they have a better understanding as to what is possible. And therefore, what ideally we want to be able to do is to allow Barbadians or anybody who is here living, working in Barbados to be able to do their business as conveniently as possible. And therefore, it will mean, sir, that there will be some disruption, positively so, because the ability now for the smallest business, sir, and all of us in here who know that we have a number of constituents who do business on WhatsApp and Instagram and all types of platforms, Facebook and the like, sir, advertising what it is they're offering. But currently, they don't necessarily have the ability to accept payments in real time, and therefore the ability to do that so that you're focusing now on not just the collection of money, but re-engineering your business now to focus more on the logistics, the delivery of the said goods or services, and therefore having a much more seamless way to manage cash. And so we feel that with the imminent rollout of the real-time payment system, the amendments before the Chamber today was broadly outlined when we did the original bill in 2021. The central bank, in looking at the types of regulations that are required for these types of platforms and systems globally, we've brought these amendments here today to ensure that there is absolute clarity, sir, with respect to the law and how financial institutions, sir, will be able to participate. And so in the amendments that are here, you're seeing the definitions as including it says the national payment systems, and it outlines people with payment systems, people providing payment services, sir, clearing systems, settlement systems, the processing of securities and any other financial instrument, as well as, broadly speaking, payment service providers. And I don't want to promote anybody's particular business, sir, but Barbadians do have some familiarity with some of these things. And I would only make these references, sir, because in our daily lives, we go about, we make purchases. Some stores will give you some points, sir, which you accumulate. And certainly it's Christmas time. I know some people will start to redeem some of those points when they shop at Christmas to get a few dollars off, sir. It is those types of systems to ensure that those who are offering that type of service, as well, that there's clear regulations around these types of things. Because at the end of the day, it is about settlement at the end of the day, and therefore, whether you are a direct payment service, so depending on where your interest may lie, you have the people who have the payment system branded, but you have the people in the back end who are doing the programming and these types of things, sir, that you need to make sure that if you are sending me a piece of change, sir, that when it hits my phone, that one, it comes to the right person, and that the transaction, whether it is the transfer of money, whether it is for the payment of goods and services, that the regulations around that are solid in the same way as we would have done with the cash card, or if I have to go to your store physically, sir, and pay you in cash, that if we are doing these types of services digitally, that all of the necessary regulations around the security and all of that those things are in place. Let me, sir, break it down even further. In your wallet, sir, right now, I will guess, sir, I will guess,
You're doing well. You guess it.
you may have a debit card. You may have a debit card. The debit card is linked to your bank account. Also, incidentally, sir, you might have a checking account. You might have a savings account, which that debit card can access either at ATM or at the point of sale system, wherever they may be. And you can choose, sir, to use that debit card in those places to do and pay for whatever you want to pay that the person may be offering. In your wallet, sir, you may also have a credit card, which equally will do the same type of service. But knowing you, sir, to be financially prudent, I know that you may be a person that might use your credit card at the beginning of the month all the way through and pay off at the end of the month, sir, to make sure that you are not utilizing your cash, sir.
Honourable, we have neither cash nor credit cards. So
This is the proverbial you, sir. The proverbial you. You, sir, may use your credit card to do your regular purchases, keeping your account balances, sir, healthy, and you pay off your credit card at the end of the month so that your credit rating is good, sir. You pay on time, you're not accumulating interest, sir. That's what you may be doing. But I just made that point, sir, that also in your physical wallet, sir, you may have cash in your physical wallet. But you know where else you have cash too, sir? You got cash in your car, in the little cubby hole, or next in the driver's door, sir. You got cash lying around at home, sir. And there may be times, sir, that sometimes we may have more cash, coins, and these types of things lying around the place, sir, than sometimes even in our bank accounts and the like. And the reality is, if you think of not just your physical wallet, where you may have a debit card, a credit card, or the physical cash and coins, you have coins and cash lying around, sir. What we are saying to Barbadians is that with the technology that we are rolling out, you have a choice, sir. You have a choice. With BIMPay, you can download the app, sir, when the time comes, and you can choose not to link any of your financial accounts to BIMPay. But you can still receive. So if I wanted to send you some money, sir, I can send you money on BIMPay. It comes to your phone. And if you wanted to go down Swan Street now, sir, and make a purchase, and there's a merchant who has the QR code, sir, to buy the few gifts that you're gonna buy down Swan Street, sir, or Broad Street for the madam, sir, for Christmas. You can scan your phone. For your wife, sir. For your wife, sir. For your wife, sir. For the avoidance of doubt, sir, for your wife. And the merchant, sir, is able to accept the payment digitally. They would check their account, sir, and know that once the QR code is valid from you, sir, and you have enough money in your digital wallet, then you can effect that purchase. Now, sir, you know full well, there are times when, like around crop over, or even in regular, you may go somewhere, sir, and you just don't have enough physical cash with you at that point in time to make the purchase. So then you have to make a decision, am I going to leave and come back go to the ATM and come back, and then you have to start thinking about, well, where is the closest ATM? Because the person may or may not have the point of sale facility. And then depending, sir, on whether or not you have enough space on your credit card, or because you're managing your cash, your thing on your bank account, sir, because you may have some committed things there, you may not be able to effect that sale at that point in time. And therefore, it is important for Barbadians to appreciate, sir, that what we are bringing is the ability for you, as I said, you don't have to link your bank account to it. But if, sir, you wanted to effect that sale, and you chose to load in the same way that you have the debit card and credit card in your physical wallet, that you want to connect your financial accounts onto BIMPay, then you could easily, sir, transfer money instantaneously between the bank account that you have, without having to go to the ATM and all this type of thing, sir. You would see what would be a virtual amount of money in your digital wallet, which is akin to the amount of cash you may have in your wallet physically. And therefore, the ability for you to do that transaction is easier because you're able, on the spot, to be able to make the transfer to the virtual wallet, effect the sale quickly, and therefore you don't have to go and worry about how much money to take out to the ATM, because as you know, there are limits to the amounts of money that you can take out of the ATM at any particular point in time anyhow. And therefore, what we are trying to impress upon Barbadians, that the launch of BIMPay is going to significantly transform how business is done in this economy. Now, sir, you are a small business. It's Christmas time now. And you know, sir, not everybody in town at Christmas, I mean at any time, but not everybody in town at Christmas come in town to do proper business. There are people in town all now, sir, who, if you ain't careful, sir, they can ease in your pocket, your bag, sir, you didn't even know that they're there. And therefore, as a security measure, I know that next year, this time, once BIMPay is launched, that by the time we get to December next year, that not just for businesses, but citizens being able to conduct their business in a much safer environment will be effective, because on the one hand, you don't have to worry about physical cash now and carrying physical cash in the way that I know, sir. I see on my way to Parliament this morning, I saw, but I couldn't get past Tweedside Road easily because Tweedside Road, sir, was booming with activity this morning. But I saw a lot of people walking into town, and I know that a majority of those people are walking with cash. And as you know, sir, every year the Barbados Police Service always puts out a bulletin to the public advising them about the people who are not in town to do any shopping. They might be in town to live, but then they may come into shop, sir. And therefore, it is important that the adoption of this technology is understood, and that people appreciate that safety, not just physical safety. The central bank is working with the providers to ensure that clearly the cybersecurity systems are in place to be able to ensure that the systems are protected in the same way that your money in the bank is also protected from the cyber attacks with the online banking and the internet banking, sir. And therefore, the standards with respect to what players, I say players, but the stakeholders who will engage in this payments ecosystem, sir, will be in place. And so the central bank is very precise in what it calls a payment service, sir. And if you permit me, sir, it says payment service here on top of page 5 means any of the following: establishing and maintaining a payment account, executing payment transactions, acquiring a payment instrument, issuing a payment instrument, a money remittance service. So you know, sir, MoneyGram and Western Union and all of these types of payments, remittances, because you got family overseas, sir, they're sending, it's Christmas, they're gonna send you the code to tell you to go to either Western Union or MoneyGram, and therefore these are included in that, because rather than having to turn up at the store, the physical location, the ability for BIMPay to have that routed to you so that you don't have to come down to get to the location to access the money, but we want to ensure that all of those things can be routed, sir, into your digital wallet so that for convenience, things are in place. It doesn't mean that if you still want to come down and go to the physical location, you can still do so. But the ability, and that's where the back-end technique, data exchanges and stuff are happening, so that it gives Bajans the option, sir, to be able to accept money, but also pay money seamlessly. Storing an electronic money unit. So I spoke to those store cards that, you know, and points and stuff that people will use and traditionally use more at Christmas. Transferring an electronic money unit. So conceivably, sir, I may have some points with a particular store, supermarket, sir, on my supermarket account. But right now, sir, I can't really transfer that to you because there's no medium of exchange for me to do that right now. So imagine, sir, that you and I in the supermarket, my bill come out a little higher than I expected, sir. Both of us have store points, and therefore you could link through me, use some of your store points to give me that I could redeem at the counter. Now, you don't have to be there with me physically, but it's useful if you're there. But because the mechanism will be in place that allows us to convert and transfer all in real time, then it will mean, sir, that the few dollars that you lend me to purchase the few things will come down on your account. It will be credited into mine. I will be able to effect the sale, and therefore we are using the store points to be able to transact business. It says a payment initiation service, an account information service related to a service specified in paragraph A to I. And so a lot of work right now is taking place. So yes, the central bank is out there sensitizing people as to what will be happening, but there's a lot of work happening in the back end to ensure that once we launch in March of 2026, that everything, sir, is in place. And so this is important. Now, sir, today is Friday. And I know that we can see clear evidence, sir, of construction taking place all across this country. So when people ask where the growth is, I know that in construction, the workers know where the growth is. But it is Friday. Construction workers are usually paid on Friday, sir. All now, sir, I know it's 11 o'clock right now, sir. Contractors are either at some bank now, sir, trying to get the cash to pay their workers today, later this evening. And typically, and you know, sir, if you get to the bank too late, it's Friday, everybody want money for the weekend, sir, and therefore the bank line bursts, and therefore you gotta wait long. Not to be negative in that respect, but the point is, it takes time to get the money out. Then you gotta distribute it to make sure that, sir, that your pay is correct, my pay is correct, the honorable member for South Central pay correct, and all of that. And sometimes on Friday evenings, the contractor is delayed and the workers are on site, sir, waiting for their money. That is the lived reality of construction workers in this country. It doesn't happen every week, but it is the lived reality of construction workers in this country. And so with the introduction of BIMPay, sir, it means that a contractor does not have to worry about going in the bank line, sir, at 11 o'clock to make sure he gets it. He knows that the honourable member for St. Michael's South is a class mason. He's an A-class mason, sir.
Honourable is going to be able to read a spirit level.
Well, when he can read a spirit level, that's a different subject, sir. He can handle the trouble. But that aside, he knows that what he owes him to this week. He knows what he owes you, sir, the steel bender this week, the carpenter this week. And therefore, rather than spend time in the line trying to get cash, it means that the contractor, sir, the small business, so remember, contractors are small business, small business people. And therefore, the ability to pick up his phone because the client has paid him the money, sir. And the client also does not have to go to the bank and do a big draft and that type of thing, but that part has been taken care of, sir. The client has paid him. He's now paying his workers. He or she can go on their phone on Friday morning and effect the transfer digitally, either into the digital wallet of the construction worker. So in the same way that they will deliver cash, which they will put in their physical wallet, sir, they can deposit the money into the digital wallet and it will be there for them to see on Friday morning. Or they can choose to have it deposited into their bank account if they so desire through the same BIMPay app, sir, for the construction workers. So for a construction worker, you don't need, or any other worker for this country, you don't need to have a bank account per se, but the ability to be paid and then for you to be able to do business on the weekend is entirely possible. And I cite that example, sir, because it means that construction workers now will no longer have to be waiting around on a Friday evening, sir, waiting for the contractor to be driving coming up, because, sir, as you know, depending on where the site is, the sites are not always easily accessible by way of, you know, bus routes and the like, given where some construction sites are taking place. And so all of that anxiety will now be removed from people's lives because you know that you'll be paid, sir, easier and on time. But the only way you can do that, sir, is if you adopt the technology. And therefore, it is important that I know the central bank has been doing wonderful work so far. They've been going from as we would say, larboard to starboard, sir, just to make sure that everybody is covered with respect to this thing. But the reality is the ease of doing business, the ease for people to be paid, sir, in this instance, I think will save a lot of time. It will save a lot of issues with respect to the cost of small businesses having to manage cash. Because as you know, sir, somebody would know that the construction site, the fellas that they're working, they know that it's Friday and the contractor in town making his way up the road to pay these workers, and could easily waylay the contractor on his way there, sir, to pay these workers. And therefore, it is important that with the rollout of these instant payment systems, that we understand that this is not for the big business people, you know, sir. The big businesses are already covered because they got payment services. Them is accept credit cards and debit cards and all types of things, sir. This investment that we have made in this technology as the government of Barbados through the central bank is to ensure that ordinary people are included in this economy, and that the opportunity for them, sir, to be able to either start new businesses, expand their existing business, to be able to have better record keeping, sir, because whilst we've done a very good job, I know the Honourable Member for St. George South in starting the trust loan program, sir, to be able, and remember, sir, remember, and I know that the Leader of Opposition also remembers why that was introduced, was because we wanted to give small businesses a credit history, sir, a credit history, so that they can move from 5,000 to 10,000. You have a track record. You want to borrow a little more money from a bigger institution, that you have a track record, a credit history that shows you're able to borrow and repay. And therefore, this digital intervention is really rooted in us being able to allow very small businesses to utilize this platform so that their ability to expand by being able to access financing. So it means you have better record keeping, because you can track all of most, if not all, of your revenue intake, so that any financial institution can look at you and say, I am satisfied with your revenue performance. I can see where your profit margin is, and therefore if I have to lend you $20,000, then I know that I can get back that $20,000 because I can see how you're managing your money, one, and two, I know that with this injection, you will then start to see a little more growth with respect to what is happening with your enterprise. And therefore, I know that there are times, when as I said here on Tuesday, there are times that people will hear us here in Parliament and think it has nothing to do with them. The reality is, sir, this is a significant and important policy intervention that is rooted in ensuring that there is absolute financial inclusion, or the possibility for absolute financial inclusion. But it requires people not to fear the technology, but to understand how to utilize the technology to be able to grow your business and to be able to help with the ultimate transformation of the economy. And so this is not a poo-poo piece of legislation here today, sir. This is important because this will fundamentally transform the way things are done in this country. Too many times, sir, I bring it now to places like Oystein, sir. Too many times, sir, the ATM at the gas station at the bottom of the hill, sir, they run out of money because on a Friday night, the place bursts. None of the vendors in Oystein, at least, I speak subject to correction, but I do not think any of the vendors have point-of-sale machines. So when the ATM run out of money, and locals or the tourists want an extra fish, a few extra drinks, sir, you're constrained because you then have to go and find somewhere else where you can get cash. The post office run out of money. The ATM by the post office run out, sir. And therefore, we want people to understand that as far as possible, the adoption of this technology, these instant payments, will revolutionize how they do business. It enhances the security because it means, sir, that nobody can run in the place and just take up your cash after you work so hard for it, sir. I know that within the transport system, there will be equally the rollout of being able to pay digitally and offer discounts digitally, sir, to make sure that we can drive and change behaviors within that space, sir. And therefore, this really touches, sir, every aspect of the economy. Now, sir, I know that with the introduction of technology, there are some amongst us who are getting on. I say getting on. And some things may scare them. And I know that the Ministry of Industry and Smart Technology, when my honourable friend here from St. Philip West was the minister, had engaged a program with respect to the digital ambassadors to help explain to Bajans what was happening with respect to technology. So I'm saying to our elderly citizens. The government of Barbados, working with with you, the state, and the stakeholders, will embark on a deliberate program to ensure that there are people that you can trust to help you to better understand how to use this technology. Because we cannot exclude people from the process. And I know that the Honourable Member for St. James North and St. James South in particular, with the Give Back program, is intended to ensure that we can utilize some of the time, the voluntary time, for our university graduates who live in all types of villages across this country. They live in families, sir, with elderly persons, that we want to be able to use some of that give back time, if you like, sir, to help change the perspective with respect to how our elderly citizens, our senior citizens, can adopt this technology. And I say that because I know that whilst the Honourable Member for St. Michael South is almost completed, and I know we're not supposed to talk about legislation to come, financial protection, sir, with respect to our senior citizens is absolutely critical in all of this. And I say, sir, there will always be people, sir, who are up to no good. They will be up to no good, whether it is in physical cash, trying to entice people, as you know, sir, between the blessing circles and people just plain old thieving, sir. In a digital space, the protections will be there, not just for senior citizens, but for the entire public, to ensure that our systems are protected and can withstand the constant threats that are there. But as you know, sir, and as I said it earlier this year, if something is too good to be true, then just left it out, sir. Just left it out. No matter the sweet talk, sir, no matter the promise, if it's too good to be true, sir, leave it out. And therefore, it does not matter whether I come down and put the cash physically in your hand and you tell me that if I give you $100 today, sir, that you're going to give me 300 Sunday. Because I would have to be a very trusting person to accept that somebody could turn around $100 and give me $300 by Sunday. But the point I'm making is that whether that happens with physical cash, it is still fraud, it is still deception, it is still theft, call it whatever you like. The same exists in the digital space. So there's no difference except that I happen to see you face to face in the analog space. But there's so many things bombarding people when the day comes on social media that people still message me to ask, is this true? Even the other day, sir, as you know, Banks Holdings is physically located in my constituency. And somebody was perpetrating something about Banks Beer and giving I think it was $300, I can't remember what the number was, whatever the number was, sir. And Banks had to put out very quickly that this thing was a scam. And so, because, as you know, sir, everybody drink Banks. And therefore, Banks as a trusted brand, people may be deceived into thinking that when you click this thing, that Banks gave away something. After all, it's Christmas, sir. It's Christmas, so everybody got a little competition going for this and the next, the third. And therefore, it is important that people accept that that in of itself has nothing to do with the payment system, but what people want from you ultimately is to get money from you. The mechanism through which they get it is either for you to voluntarily give them, sir, your financial information so that they can, if you decide that you want to give somebody your PIN to your card, sir, and they're able to clone your card, then they could go all down Broad Street, sir, and come right back up Swan Street and spend that money before the bank get a chance to call you and tell you that somebody, and it happened to me, sir. It happened to me. Not here. It happened to me. Someone had somehow in one of the data things with Amazon or something, one of those places, the bank called me one day, asked me where he was. I said, well, I'm here in Barbados. This is in early 2019. I said, well, I am in Barbados. But they said, well, somebody in New York at Forever 21, and the stores line up next to one another. So their fraud detection mechanisms are robust enough to determine whether or not fraudulent activity is taking place. All I'm saying to Barbadians is that the same systems and surveillance that is in place currently will be in place similarly on the digital side. And so within the ecosystem, we must work together to ensure that we protect each other. And therefore the responsibility of the providers, we as digital citizens, sir, so the long and short of it is, don't tell nobody your business, sir. That's the long and short of it. If you need to discuss something of a financial nature, you might have to make the time to go to the bank physically and do what you have to do, or ensure that the contact information, which is usually, sir, at the back of the card, the physical card that you have, that you only use that information. No bank is going to message you, email, or otherwise and tell you, click this, sir, and provide this information. That is the one thing that you can be assured of in the digital space. If your bank or financial institution wants to have contact with you, you know they're going to send you, it might be a little inconvenient, they're going to send you the mail, the address that you have on record, and they're going to tell you what they want there, and then they can tell you, go to the branch closest to where you are to ensure that the information that they want you to provide to them is updated. Now, whilst I accept that in a digital space we can do things easier, that is in place to ensure that any information that you transmit or is exchanged between you and the bank is as secure as possible. And so I want to give Barbadians the assurance that the systems that we have in place, whilst not 100% foolproof, sometimes it requires us to do something that is a little inconvenient in order to secure at the big picture level, to be secure at the big picture level. And therefore, no bank, no credit union, no payment service provider is going to send you no message telling you to click this and provide information about anything. And therefore, if anybody's asking you to do that, then that's the first red flag, sir. The first red flag. And so our systems are as good as each person is able to understand how to use them, not sharing information with unauthorized dealers. I said dealers, sir. As you know, you may be a small business. The honorable member for St. Peter's my accountant. So therefore, he has my authorization to act on my behalf. As I may need your services, sir, because anyhow, the point is, the honorable member is acting on my behalf, and therefore he would have access to my resources to be able to do that, which is the internal controls which are in place now for any business. And therefore, nothing necessarily will change with respect to that, because you don't just give people unfettered access to your money, sir. And anytime you have a situation where there's a single person with access to monies that are not theirs, sir, then you know that, well, you can trust some people, yes, but the reason you need controls is to ensure that no single person can always have access to the full set of resources. And I raise that only because in any business, you still need, and you're migrating to a digital platform, you still need to have controls in place to ensure that as you're operating and you're receiving stuff digitally, you're paying stuff out, you still need the same controls or similar controls, I should say, that you have currently in your back office. You need to have similar controls in place with respect to the digital space. And therefore, that still remains the responsibility of your management to make sure that those things are in place so that the protection of the business's revenue is as secure as possible. And therefore, whilst the intent is to make it as easy as possible for us to be able to do business, I believe, sir, that people and individual businesses still have to have the appropriate awareness with respect to controls that allows them to understand how to better manage their resources. And in a more digital space with respect to payments, it means then that you can focus more on inventory management and tracking, which is still pretty much a vulnerable part of any business, sir, managing inventory. And therefore, it is important that if you spend less time managing cash, dealing with checks, sir, and as you know, sir, some people might come in your store, they write you a check, sir, you give them the goods, 3 days later, the check bounce from the bottom of Broad Street, sir, all the way to the top. And therefore, you are exposed because you now have to go run after this person to be able to get what is really legally yours. With this type of framework, sir, digital payments in place, you still have a choice. And I want to be clear, sir. The government isn't telling anybody that you have to do this. We are giving you an opportunity to reduce your risk. Reduce the risk of theft on all fronts, sir. Reduce the risk of fraud on all fronts. And increase convenience, saving time. And as I said earlier, sir, time is money. So if you don't have to wait to do business, you don't have to wait to receive service, it means you can spend that time doing something more productive. So when we talk about productivity in the economy, sir, this particular intervention, adopted as broadly as possible, will increase productivity simply because we will not be spending time to either receive money or to get a service delivered. And therefore, in of itself, we believe that the economy conservatively will get an extra 1 to 1.5% in growth simply because of the time element with respect to business being conducted. And so long as we can see the velocity of money, sir, increasing, then it means that we are likely then to see increased economic activity. And increased economic activity, sir, means that GDP is growing, our debt profile is enhancing, and that the ability then for businesses to expand and expand rapidly will be there. And so this is a fundamental intervention, sir, critical to Barbados's social and economic future. And therefore, we're making this an investment as government to ensure that, one, if I have to transfer money from me to you, sir, personally, that in the same way that when I take $50 out of my pocket now, sir, and I give it to you, $50 is $50. When I do it from my phone to you, sir, $50 is still $50. And therefore, that is what we want to make sure is preserved with respect to the system, so that peer-to-peer is the fancy word for that, sir, peer-to-peer. It means I giving you money. But it doesn't mean, what it means now, sir, is that I don't have to be, you and I don't need to be physically in the same place, or if if we happen to trust the Honourable Member for St. Thomas, that I can give the Honourable Member for St. Thomas and she meet you somewhere and give you the money, sir, which is what happens in our society, sir. But that too involves logistics and time and all types of things. So the reality is that we're going to cut out all of that, I don't want to say doubt, but that waiting time, and therefore the ability for me to transfer to you directly will be there, and therefore, the ease and convenience factor is important. And so, sir, the next in the central bank bill, which I asked for the cognate debate, you will note that in section 50, clause 3, which is section 50, that it is regularizing the meaning of the payment system embedded in the central bank act itself, because whilst in the payment system, we said that the central bank will have the payment system bill in 2021, we assigned the central bank as the ultimate regulator. We are now embedding in the central bank act itself the definitions with respect to the governance around and regulations of the national payment system, which is there in clause 53. And we have some further exemptions at clause 72, which will exempt the central bank given the significant reinvestment that will have to be made there to make sure that they can undertake and upkeep the physical infrastructure of the bank, that certain exemptions are provided for there in respect of that. Equally, sir, as you know, as regulators have to issue guidelines for conduct, and therefore, at clause 72A, guidelines and directives to have the force of law, sir, so that the regulation of this particular sector, that in the same way that the central bank issues guidelines right now for commercial banks and Part 3 companies, because that is their core mandate when the central bank was originally set up, then we are doing the same here with respect to the fact that the payment system and the operators within the payment system, that similarly the guidelines and regulations and directives have the same force of law embedded in the Central Bank Act itself, will ultimately complete, sir, the circle, if you like, with respect of regulations in this regard. And so I believe, sir, that whilst, and let me just say for the record, sir, that I want to thank the World Bank for the technical support that they have provided the bank in this process. It is critically important to realize that part of the effort to get where we are today has been supported by significant technical assistance from a range of multilateral institutions. In this instance, the World Bank has provided that specific technical assistance in relation to ensuring that we have the right technology platform, sir, certainly as it relates to the legal framework. And I believe that we have been able to, in a relatively short space of time, given that we only had access to IBRD resources from last April or so, April 2024, roughly, sir, that we have been able, between then and now, to be able to unlock this technical assistance and be in a position that the central bank, working now with the stakeholders, with the testing of the systems, to make sure that we are ready to launch on March 31st. On the part of the government, sir, the Treasury Department is working alongside the bank and the providers to make sure that Treasury, at its core, is ready to be able to accept real-time payments. What that will mean, sir, is that between now and March, certainly, but it will continue into the next fiscal year, that government departments will have to re-engineer their processes to ensure that as we roll out the system in full, that any service that is delivered by a government agency that has an accounting function in the back end, that we are able to account for those payments, and that the payment of beneficiaries or any of those types of things, that once people adopt those technologies, sir, we can pay people in real time. And it is important, sir, to recognize that the Revenue Authority, as well as the National Insurance, will be in effect phase 2 of that, but I've asked them to start ahead of time to make sure that as soon as possible thereafter that we are in a position to be able to make the payments. I raise that, sir, because I know that it being the Yuletide season, sir, and just forgive me, pardon me one moment. This being the Yuletide season, sir, and I want to say to Barbadians that this week, the Revenue Authority, sir, in relation to the reverse tax credit, sir, we have sent $16.2 million to various financial institutions, covering some 11,941 persons. 16.2 million for 11,941 persons to receive the reverse tax credit. There is an additional 2.6 million, which has been issued by check, sir, for 1,994 persons, because the Revenue Authority does not have bank account information for them. And so I hope that this time next year, when we are paying the next set of reverse tax credits, and the same will happen with refunds and these other things, that I hope that next year we will be in a position, sir, to make all of these payments into persons' digital wallets, because they would have adopted BIM Pay, and rather than have to be waiting for things to be routed, especially the person with checks, because you got to wait for the postman to deliver, sir, and then you got to find your way to a physical location in order to be able to access that money. And therefore, we are working, as I said, to make sure that the integration of the Revenue Authority is on its way. Similarly, I know National Insurance is equally working to make sure that they too, with respect to being able to deliver benefits faster, various government departments will be able to do the same, sir. So whether it is welfare payments, sir, whether it is payments for maintenance at the court, and these other issues that have been vexing and long-standing for some time, I'm saying to Barbadians that whilst it has taken a little longer, sir, than we anticipated, we are on the cusp of being able to see significant improvements with respect to Bajans accessing and having a different experience with respect to payments. And the same, sir, the reason we have the Treasury online is that with the small businesses and suppliers of government, our ability to pay you in real time digitally, equally, sir, equally is important, because of the need to ensure that, as I said, sir, the velocity of money, sir, increases in the economy. And I know that once money is turning over, sir, then goods and services being demanded, and we will have a much more robust and inclusive Barbados economy. And so this, I believe, sir, is transformational. It is not something that you can necessarily touch and feel, but with the exception of people actively adopting the technology, getting an understanding, sir, as to what it will mean for them personally, what, if you're a business, what that means for you in terms of being able to expand the possibilities for greater e-commerce, having much more focus on logistics and delivery, sir, so that I hope that every small business adopts this platform, because it will eliminate, sir, the need for someone to have to come physically to your location, sir, to be able to access what you're offering. And so, rather than opening your doors, sir, hoping that people come and pass through and come into your physical location, I want that you are open for business 24. Being able to accept orders, sir, 24/7, so that your business is in the business of making money 24/7. And therefore, I know there are going to be a lot of different industries popping up as a result of this intervention, and therefore more credible business taking place. And all I can say to Barbadians is that the government is doing this to ensure that you have not just a better payment experience, but a safer and a much more secure enterprise. And therefore, we feel that with the work that has already been started and that will continue, we will continue to engage. We will work with the Ministry of People Empowerment to ensure, and Elder Affairs, to ensure that our senior citizens are included. As it relates to persons with disabilities, we also will ensure that where the appropriate accessibility measures are in place with respect to the platform, that in the same way that it exists on your phone as it is now, to work with the community to ensure that they too are as fully included in the rollout of this exercise, so that they too can have a better financial inclusion, just like any other citizen, sir, in the country. And so this is a deliberate, positive intervention, sir, and I am proud to be able to lead this debate this morning, because this is why we were elected, sir, 7.5 years ago, and we were elected to ensure that we transform the way things are done in the country. And I know that this, as an important pebble, if you like, sir, in the pond, is going to reverberate right across every facet of life in this country. And I know that from health to education to construction to barbering, sir, to you name it, sir, no matter the sector, no matter the industry, this is going to revolutionize, sir, how people do business. It is going to create additional number of jobs. I know that for the persons who are currently in cash in transit, might believe that this is a fear, but if you are already in cash in transit, trust me, you understand logistics already. And with the pending change in the way business is done, logistics will explode in this country. We are seeing an inordinate amount of packages coming in at the airport, sir, with respect to new businesses popping up, because we believe, or we thought, that those packages that were coming in at the airport was only related to the pandemic, but that continues to grow in a significant way. So if you are a person operating in cash in transit, I want you not to fear this intervention. You already move money, and therefore if you move money, you can move any other package, sir, with respect to what is happening in the economy in general. And so I am happy, sir, and comfortable that there will be additional opportunities. People will transition into different areas of the economy, and that this will drive significantly growth in the economy going forward. And so, sir, with those words, sir, I beg to move that this bill be read a second time.
Thank you, Your Honor. There would be something rather incongruous about participating in the chaplain's prayer and then not saying good morning to all 12 of the government members who were here during that prayer. And when I say good morning to my colleagues on the other side, it really is an expression of goodwill towards those 12 government members who have come to this debate today. I know it is Friday and the notice may have been late, but I say good morning and I say welcome to the Parliament, although that is not my job. That is merely an expression of goodwill to all 12. The dutiful dozen, one may refer to them. Now, as always, I enjoy the discourses of the Honourable Member for Christchurch East. Whenever I hear him in this new pedagogical style, the Honourable Member has been demonstrating, as always he has, that he's the hardest working member in this government. And the casualty of his labours really has been the constituency